Welcome to the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Podcast. I want you to be rich. Yes, I want abundant financial success for your business. But I don't just care about your business making money. I care about you too. I want you to be rich in happiness, in the impact you make, in your relationships, and in how you give back. I'm Anna. I built my six-figure business as a side hustle while I was pregnant with my daughter in 2016. Now I've helped dozens of women do the same. I'm here to help you build a profitable, heart-centered, fully booked business with the latest tips on sales and visibility, with proven mindset hacks, and sneak peeks behind the scenes with what's working right now in the online space and in my business. Ready to make more money with heart? Let's go. Hi, sweet friends. I am in a good mood because it is my off week. So many of you know that I work a 3-day work week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then 1 week out of the month, I don't put any calls on my calendar. And often this is when I will vacation with my kids, or if there isn't a vacation scheduled, I will just take the time for me. And I just finished a hot yoga class and I took extra long making my lunch today. And I do dabble with work, but it can feel so much more spacious. For example, I'm doing this podcast recording. Yesterday, I took a sales call that I needed to fit in. So I think it's so interesting because I hear people say like, oh, the 3-day work week, it feels so confined. And when I say that, it's just a shortcut to say working like 15 to 20 hours a week, right? When I had tiny kids, my quote 3-day work week was really a 5-day work week that I worked like 3 hours a day. So know that it's okay for you to have freedom. Like, don't have rigidity in how you do it, right? When I was first starting my business, I loved working on Saturday mornings because that felt like a quiet moment for me to work. And so just permission to let it be what you want to be. I love doing a little bit of content creation during my quote off week because I feel so spacious. And I think one of the biggest gifts I can give you if you're in a season of challenge in your business and overwhelm and exhaustion is me bringing you my really high vibe, positive energy, because I am in a place of being really regulated, really super financially supported and grounded, really happy, but it hasn't always been that way. The first few years of my business, I definitely did not feel regulated or grounded or supported. I felt a lot of chaotic energy. And I think we have this belief that like we have to be perfect or figure out how to get ourselves to that place. And the truth is, I borrowed a lot of my regulated energy from my coach, from my therapist. It's safe for you to get that regulated energy from people that are in that place. And I want to be that for you. I want to bring you my peace, my joy, so that your stability can expand. Because when you are living from a place of abundance. And when I say abundance, I don't mean like just enough money to scrape by, but plenty of money, erasing your debt, building your savings, having a really stable retirement fund. I was just talking to someone overseas, and we were talking about how important it is for her to have her own independent retirement for a certain situation. But really, I believe everyone, I think times are just really uncertain. And I think it's just so important for all of us to have independent retirement investments, whether that's through 401ks, properties, or elsewise. But I really think that it takes work to get yourself to that place of stability financially, but also emotionally. I've invested a lot of time and energy in therapy and healing. And I don't take it for granted. When I say like a happy, boring dream life, what I mean by that is like, I think when you live in a season of chaos and dysregulation, there's nothing you want more than just a peaceful, quiet, happy life. And for me, yes, I loved that I got to take my kids to Ireland, but I also love that they have this house that they love to be in, right? When we're away from home, they're like, Mommy, I just want to go home and lay in your big fluffy bed. Mommy, I just want to read books together, right? I think I told you guys a story that my therapist was encouraging me to create a safe space in my mind for when we were doing some therapy. And of all the places in the world, I was like, I imagine myself sitting in my living room on my couch. And she was like, you know what? No one's ever named their home as their safe space. And for me that was just such a beautiful, reflective moment of like, yes, I live in this house that I was able to buy and create to create peace with the people I love. And I think in business and in life, we confuse excitement for dysregulation almost, or chaos, right? And yes, there's moments to create excitement and adventure, but for me, I prefer to mostly have a life that is peaceful, drama-free. And if you grew up in a home that was chaotic, or there was a lot of that, it can be weird or feel uncomfortable to have peace and happiness, but it's safe for you to make a lot of money and get really stable and have extra time on your schedule. Everyone wants a 3-day work week until they start creating it. And then my clients always freak out and they're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with all this extra time? Okay, what am I supposed to do with this extra money? And so that's my job as your coach, to help you create a lot of time and money, but then also help you regulate yourself so that you can enjoy it, so you can tolerate it, so you can not be allergic to it, so that even though it's unfamiliar, even though it's change, you can get comfortable in the difference. Our brains and bodies do not like change, even when they're good change, right? But maybe put your hand on your heart and just affirm for yourself, it's safe for me to experience change for the better, to get happier. Maybe you're happy and stable right now. It's safe for you to get happier, stabler, richer in your money, in your relationships, in your family. It's safe for you to increase your capacity to live this beautiful, free, happy life. And for me, the 3-day work week represents so much of that, right? The ability to have time freedom to spend that time however I want. And for me, I really love to work out. I really love to dance. I really love to spend time with girlfriends. We're going tomorrow to dress up as witches and go out to eat. And for me, that is all that I want. That is what I want, is happiness in my personal life, stability for my babies. They're my number one priority. And also work that deeply fulfills me, work that doesn't drain me, work where I believe in it and I feel like I'm making a deep, deep difference. And it's safe for you to go after that. Okay, back to today's podcast episode. I haven't talked about this in a little while, but it's something I share with my clients a lot, which is reframing the way that we're thinking about inviting people to our programs, rethinking the way that we think about sales. Because I think for me, one of the biggest ways and skills that I started creating that stability in my life, the margin for the 3-day work week, is through selling. In my mastermind, one of the programs that's proprietary to that program is Sell with Heart. And so much of this, I think, for me personally, I remember at the start of my business Googling, how do I make money online without selling? Like anything but that, right? It's almost like, how do I find the love of my life without dating? How do I get healthy without exercising, right? The answer is you do have to do that thing, but we're making it mean something that maybe we don't need to. And maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but I want you to consider this again, because I think you're listening to this podcast because there's something in here for you. And I want you to consider what in addition you need to drop to allow in more flow of money, more sales more easily. Maybe it's you're working to fill one-on-one client spaces. Maybe it's you're working to fill group spaces. But I want to talk about sales and see what comes up for you in this little class I'm doing via podcast. And I want you to see what else you can drop when it comes to resistance in the, like, sales is the process of someone paying you money for your work. And maybe you've had a bad sales experience before, maybe even bring to mind right now a sales experience where you felt icky or off. Maybe you were on the receiving end of someone selling to you and something felt pretty crunchy, or like they were pressuring you, or like they were really attached to you buying for whatever reason, and it was feeling like guilt or pressure or shame. So many of my clients have had this experience where it's just an icky experience. And so I think what we do as heart-centered coaches is we're like, oh my God, anything but that ickiness, that's called sales, right? You know where I'm going with this. It wasn't the selling, it was the ickiness, but we're placing it on that, right? Now I want you to think, is there any experiences that you've had where maybe you have been selling and you felt icky or off? I know that I have done things before where I tried it and then I was like, actually, that didn't align for me, right? A lot of businesses like trial and error. Maybe a coach has suggested a tactic to you and then you try it and you're like, actually, that feels really weird and that doesn't align for me. And maybe you did it anyway because, at the start of business, it's hard to find the difference between our intuition and fear, and we're sorting through all that. I just want you to put your hand on your heart. And I've been reading a book. Let me see what the author is really quick. I'm not done with it, but it's David Hawkins, the book Letting Go. And I love this concept of processing things. And he really talks about we shouldn't repress how we feel, but we also shouldn't overexpress how we feel, which is interesting because I'm a very expressive person. But he's really talking about allowing ourselves to feel those feelings, allowing them to pass through us. And so I want you to think about, was there a sales experience either where you were selling or being sold to and something felt off or icky or unaligned? How can you hold that gently? How can you let it come up? And how can you just release it through your body? Maybe you even pause this podcast for a second and you just allow it to process and you grant yourself forgiveness and grace. Or maybe you have like a moment of anger and you release something towards someone else or that situation. But I really want to let you know that there's nothing wrong or bad or dirty about sales. Sales is a beautiful thing. And if you decide not to be an entrepreneur and you work for someone else, that business has a sales department, right? So what I love to tell heart-centered women is either figure out how to sell yourself or someone else will, and they'll make a lot more money off you. Because as a heart-centered woman, you are a great asset. Everyone wants you to work for their business. You are a hard worker, right? You care deeply about your clients. You're good at what you do. You're smart. You're brilliant. You are amazing, right? And so if someone can figure out how to sell and market you, they're going to make a lot of money off you. And that's not what I want. What I want is for you to figure out how to sell and market yourself so that you can monetize and make money off of your heart-centeredness, off of your skill set, whether it's a coach or course creator or a designer or a virtual assistant. Like, you're the real deal. You show up in such a beautiful, big way for your clients. And so really the skill set of selling, I think, is such a big, important thing for us to learn how to do. I think in our current times, it's even more important for us to learn how to do that. No matter what sort of income stream or how many businesses you create in your lifetime, figuring out how to frame and position it. So I wanted to share my 7 favorite reframes for sales because I think, again, we have this allergy to the word sales. And I do think it is important to just get over it and use the word sales and realize maybe someone has colored that word for us. But another shortcut is just to call it something else because it might simply be the word. For example, my favorite reframe for the word sales is invite. At the start of my business, I stopped using the word selling and I just started using the word inviting, right? Oh, today I need to invite people into my program. And that felt great. Number 1, I love a party. Number 2, I really believed in the power of my coaching, even from early on in my business. And I really felt excited about inviting people in. And also, the word inviting is opening the door, but not forcing anyone in. And that's the type of sales that I do with my clients, that I teach my clients. Is there doesn't have to be pressure. There can be this open door to come in, open door to leave, right? And so for me, I love using the word inviting. I actually have a sales masterclass that I call the Invite Masterclass, where I break down how to lead a heart-centered sales call and everything like that. And I call it Invite. Because doesn't that energy feel lighter? And it doesn't have to be a big party. I want you to close your eyes and think for a second, what sort of parties do you like to host? Do you like to host big parties? Lately, I don't know why, but I've been loving dressing up. This week is Halloween for me when I'm recording this. So I'm actually dressing up 3 times this week for 3 different things. One of my girlfriends had a birthday last month and I dressed up as a mermaid. And I just think there's something beautiful about dressing up. So maybe you do like to do that. You like to throw these big, extravagant, dreamy parties. Maybe not. Maybe for you, I also love to like invite one of my friends over to make tea for her, make friendship bracelets. Like you get to decide what sort of party you want to host, the vibe of it, right? And this can infuse into your Instagram, into your emails, but your marketing doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Maybe someone else's looks bright and flashy and bold. Maybe yours is small and soothing and cozy, but really thinking through what sort of invitation do you want to extend? Okay, now let's get into the 7 words, the 7 reframes. When I got online, I heard a lot of people using the word prospects, and I don't know why this word just gives me the ick. But really, what this word means is someone that hasn't yet paid you money. So I started using the word pre-clients. And really, in the last 10 years, I haven't heard anyone else using this phrase, but I even use this behind the scenes with my team. I'm like, oh, so and so's a pre-client. Let's connect with her. And I love this phrase because I think it like humanizes them versus prospects feels like you're like mining for gold or something. But I love the word pre-clients. And for me, it's just this idea of like, yeah, everyone in my audience is someone who has not yet bought from me yet, and they have the potential to. And I'm not a huge fan of the word like, oh, they're just a lurker or they're just a freebie hunter. Like, to me, everyone is lurking before they buy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some people take 2 years to buy from me. Some people meet me and buy from me right away. Like everyone has a different buying style, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And so I love the word pre-client because it also like, I think sometimes we see our audience and we're like, oh, they're going to buy or they're not going to buy. What if you just considered everyone a potential pre-buyer? Not that you need to like overgive and like give people 4 free discovery calls. No, everyone still just gets 1 free discovery call. But how do you really consider the energy of like everyone has the potential to work for me? I think we sort people in our head and we're like, oh, they're too advanced for me or they're too this or that. Like, how can we release that judgment and just consider everyone pre-clients? Okay, the next one is instead of promised results, potential results. Something I work on really big with my clients is their messaging and making sure that it's not just the method, but the outcome. You probably heard this before, right? So instead of just marketing to, hey, I'm a health coach and I'm really good at helping you with your nutrition, right? I'm really good at helping you get exercise. That stuff people are actually probably nervous about, right? But instead being able to say, hey, as you work with me as your health coach, you're going to start feeling more confident in your body. You're going to start feeling more energy to play with your kids, right? You're going to start feeling healthier, like the results of the exercising and the nutrition, right? And so when we talk about results, a lot of my clients shy away from this because they're like, oh, I don't want to promise a result. I don't want to disappoint someone. And certainly we never want to promise anything. Everyone's different. But I think we do the opposite as heart-centered women and we swing the other way and we don't talk about results at all. And so our competitors that aren't heart-centered people are talking about the results. I promise you'll lose 10 pounds in 10 days. And then people are signing up for that person and then being disappointed instead of actually, I could march you towards that same result too. I'm just not being overly flashy about it. And so I'm not telling you to promise things, but to say, hey, these are the potential results, right? If you show up and do the work, and if it's your goal, absolutely, I can help you lose weight. And being okay with saying that, knowing that every person is different, I would just market assuming that your client is going to show up, is going to do the work. Okay, next reframe that I want to talk about is instead of discovery calls, I love calling my sales calls clarity calls because the goal is that the person on the sales call is getting clear, number one, on if they want to work with you or not, but also like their next steps. Because a lot of times they're not just deciding, do they want to work with you? Do they want to do the hard work to make the change they need to make in their life or business or whatever, or relationship? And so I love the idea of clarity because you're really marketing, hey, it's not just sales. In discovery call, traditionally, I think people have the connotation of, oh, you're just going to sell to me. But the goal of it also is for you to walk away with a really clear decision and really clear path for your next steps. Okay, next one is instead of overcome objections, supporting and holding space. I'm a big fan on a webinar, in emails, in a sales call, not just coaching and giving value, but also leaving room to talk about what someone's fears and concerns are about working with you, right? Are they nervous about the time it's going to take? Are they nervous about what family members will think of them? And really, for those concerns and fears, holding space and supporting them. And I really challenge, even though I teach sales, I think I told you guys, I really challenged myself on my last launch to continue to lean into selling even more than value. Because for me, I love to give value. I love to teach. I can do that with my eyes closed. But even still, I have to challenge myself to, okay, Anna, don't just be the coach that you are with your clients on Zoom. You also need to be your sales department, and you also need to get people through the door. And it's a little bit different of a skill, right? And so I really doubled down on this last launch of writing down, like, what are the objections that hold people back? And in my latest webinar, if you attended that, you'll notice that I really dove into what holds people back from going all in on their business. And I got amazing feedback. Like, people loved it. And I also had great enrollment numbers. It was one of my biggest launches I've had to date. And I think it was just a reminder for me that, like, and I even did like here's examples of how I did that. I did like a little video where I just talked about like FAQs about my program. When I did Instagram stories, I just really covered what I think is holding people back and questions that I've been getting about the program. So I really leaned into those sales type things. And again, it's not that you have to overcome their objections or convince anyone, but I really think it's providing your perspective, right? People may not have other people with that perspective, your potential clients, and also supporting and holding space and not being allergic to people's questions. But you've heard me say before, when people ask questions, sales type questions or objections, that's actually a buying cue. If they were not interested in your work, they would not be sharing those hesitations with you. And so for me, I really asked myself, okay, how can I support people and hold space and use my coaching skills for the sales part, for convincing them to work with me where I know it's a great space, right? Okay, next I want to talk about is, instead of scarcity marketing, I think we're actually doing a little bit better about this in 2025 than we did before in general, but there was just so much fear-based marketing, so much guilt and shame and pressure-based marketing. And so what I think the shift needs to be here is possibility, and really telling people, hey, if you show up and do the work, this is what's possible for you. And I think, again, heart-centered coaches are nervous to do this because they're like, oh, the outcome depends on the person. Sure, but I think being able to say really clearly, this is what's possible for you, is what gets someone over the hump, not just of investing with you, but doing some of the hard work it takes to get to do the hard thing that you're selling, right? And the more niched you are with who you're serving, what you're helping them with, the easier it is to talk about the possibility, right? If you're niche down and you're talking to moms that want to get healthier, right? You're able to say what's possible for them, right? For them to have more energy playing with their kids, for them to not, put their kids to bed and then just be scrolling on their phones, right? The marketing can get a lot more specific with the possibility, with the positive marketing, with the this is possible for you when you are niche down and when you are clear. Okay, next what I want to talk about is codependent marketing versus a healthy audience. Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite ones. So I realized at the start of my business, I was doing like a lot of caretaking and codependent marketing, in the sense of I was really like babying my audience. And I was like, I don't want to sell to them too much because I don't want to like bait and switch them, or I don't want to offend them, or I don't want to sell at the end of my webinar because I don't want to pressure them to buy or force them to buy. Or instead of remembering your audience is healthy adults and they can say yes or no, and they can handle you selling to them, right? They can handle a boundary. A boundary is, yes, I'm going to take care of you, but I'm going to take care of me too. And in our business, what does that look like? It means giving a lot of value, but it also means selling so you can make money, right? You cannot condition your audience just to be there for free stuff, right? You have to condition them that it's normal that you're giving a ton of value and you're always giving them the opportunity, the open door to buy from you, and just making that normal, right? You're not like, if you don't buy from me, you're a horrible person. If you don't take out your credit card, then you're going to fail, right? But it's like, hey, here's the open door. I hope you come inside because it's great in here and I'm going to show up for you, right? You don't have to enter through the open door. I'm not going to make you wrong if you don't come through the open door, but here's the open door, and I'm going to talk about the open door all the time, right? And to me, that's treating your audience like a healthy audience, knowing that people can unsubscribe if they don't want to be there. They can unfollow you if they don't want to be there. They can say no on a sales call. It's safe for you to pitch and be direct and really ask and really advocate and really promote your programs, right? To really show up strong and sell. I would say there was a huge shift from when I kind of just showed up shyly and when I really sold my programs as if I believed in them, because I do, right? Okay, hope those reframes are helpful for you. And what I would encourage you to do is just pick one of them that's kind of standing out to you and really play with it this quarter, and really see how it shifts your ability to show up and sell and do your money-making action in your business is so important for you to do. I would love to give some of you my sales call masterclass. If you have rated or reviewed the podcast in the past, or if you want to do it this week, let me know in the first 5 that do so and send me an email. Feel free to just screenshot your review on whatever podcast platform you are on. I would love to give you my sales call masterclass. Normally it's $97, but I'm happy to give it to you for free. It's a really good class. I actually interviewed 2 people that I was on the receiving end of sales calls with, my relationship coach and someone I was on a sales call with for social media management. And I invited them on the masterclass, and I really had them unpack what they did in the sales call to make me feel comfortable. I also go through the 3 skills you need to master for sales conversions. And I also have a sales script for you, a discovery call script. And this is really a conversation about discovery calls, sales calls, but it really also applies to webinars, to how you sell on your Instagram stories, to how you sell writing an email. And I think this sort of thing has to be taught. I don't think this is, in some ways it comes natural to us, because I think a lot of these skills are centered as heart-centered women. We have them, but I think we have to be taught that we can use them in sales, right? For example, one of them is listening. You're probably already a great listener, but you haven't been taught how to apply listening to every part of your sales process so that it works. And I talk about how to listen before the person hops on the call, how to listen during the call, how to use that skill after the call in order to convert into sales. So the cool thing is the tactics I teach are very heart-centered, very things that come natural to you, but you may not have been taught how to use these in sales. So I love this masterclass and I would love to share with you. Feel free to send me your review, and I'd love to send 5 of you this masterclass and just sending you a big hug. I know it's not easy in the messy middle of business to think differently about this, but just sending you the biggest, warmest hug. And as always, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thanks for hanging out today. Please hit that subscribe button so you can make sure to stay updated anytime a new episode drops. And I would love for you to join me in my free Facebook community. It's called The Heart-Centered Entrepreneur. We discuss the podcast episodes. I regularly go live and do free trainings. And you may even meet your newest biz bestie. So you can join at heartcenteredcommunity.com. It's absolutely free, and I cannot wait to see you in there.